There's a strange truth about human nature that most people never consciously notice, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. The fastest way to make someone want something is to tell them they can't have it. Tell a child not to touch something. Tell a teenager they're not allowed to see someone. Tell an adult they probably aren't ready. And watch what happens. Curiosity rises, resistance activates, ego engages, action follows. Reverse psychology works because it doesn't try to overpower human nature. It aligns with it, it understands something fundamental. People don't resist ideas, they resist pressure. The moment someone feels their freedom shrinking, something inside them pushes back. Psychologists call this reactance. It's the emotional response to perceived restriction. We are autonomy-seeking creatures. We want to feel in control. We want to feel sovereign. We want to feel like we chose. Direct persuasion threatens that. Reverse psychology restores it. When you say you should do this, you trigger resistance. When you say you need to do this, resistance strengthens. When you say you must do this, resistance hardens. But when you say it's probably not for you, something shifts. Now it's their choice. Now it's their ego. Now it's their identity. And identity is far more powerful than instruction. Most people lose influence because they push too hard. They argue, they over-explain, they justify, they sell, they plead, they stack reasons, they try to logically corner someone into agreement. And the more they push, the more the other person instinctively pulls away. You can see this everywhere, in relationships, in sales, in parenting, in leadership, in negotiation. Pressure creates counter-pressure, force creates friction. Reverse psychology removes pressure. And the absence of pressure is often magnetic. Think about sales for a moment. Imagine someone says to you, "This is perfect for you. You need this. You should buy it." What happens internally? You scan for flaws. You look for downsides. You question the pitch. You protect yourself. Now imagine instead they say, "I'm not actually sure this is right for you. It's more suited for people who are serious about change. It's not for everyone." Now something different happens. You lean in, you start qualifying yourself, you start thinking, "Of course I'm serious." The frame has shifted. They're not chasing you, they're screening you, and screening implies value. Nobody wants to be disqualified. This is why exclusivity works. This is why phrases like "not for everyone" work. This is why high-status individuals filter rather than chase. When you create the possibility of exclusion, you sharpen desire. Reverse psychology isn't about being manipulative. It's about controlling the frame. It's about deciding who is qualifying who. Are you trying to be chosen, or are you doing the choosing? That single shift changes everything. In relationships, this dynamic becomes even more obvious. When someone feels distance, most people panic. They increase contact, they explain more, they seek reassurance, they try to fix it. But what does that communicate? It communicates attachment. It communicates need. It communicates imbalance. And imbalance reduces attraction. Instead, imagine saying calmly, "If this isn't what you want, that's completely fine. I don't want to force anything." No anger, no drama, no pleading. Now the pressure shifts. Now they feel the potential loss. Now they must decide. Reverse psychology in relationships is really about non-attachment. And non-attachment is power. When you are genuinely okay with either outcome, you become stable. Stability is attractive. Desperation is not. But here's where people get this wrong. They try to fake indifference. They pretend not to care while internally they care deeply. And that incongruence leaks through. Reverse psychology only works when you are actually prepared for both outcomes. If you cannot tolerate losing, you cannot use this effectively. It is powered by abundance, not scarcity. With children, the effect is immediate. Tell a child to eat their vegetables and you often get refusal. Say, "These are adult vegetables. I'm not sure you'll like them." And suddenly they're interested. Why? Because you activated autonomy and ego. You turned compliance into choice. You turned instruction into challenge. Adults are no different. They're just more subtle. Think about leadership. Great leaders don't always promise comfort. Sometimes they frame difficulty. When Winston Churchill said he had nothing to offer but blood, toil, tears, and sweat, he didn't reduce the challenge. He amplified it. And by amplifying it, he activated pride. He transformed hardship into identity. Reverse psychology at scale often looks like this. This will be hard. That statement filters out the weak and galvanizes the strong. It challenges self-perception, and people will move mountains to defend their self-perception. Modern marketing often fails because it pushes too hard. Buy now. Don't miss out. Limited time only. We're immune to it, but when a brand says, if you're not committed, this isn't for you, it triggers something deeper. It becomes about who you are, not what you're buying. Identity beats logic every time. Underneath reverse psychology sit three powerful drivers: autonomy, ego, and scarcity. Autonomy says, I choose. Ego says, I'm capable. Scarcity says, this is limited. When you touch all three without appearing forceful, influence becomes almost effortless. But this is a scalpel, not a hammer. Used repeatedly and predictably, it loses power. Used with obvious intent, it feels manipulative. Used from insecurity, it collapses. There are situations where reverse psychology fails entirely. Highly analytical individuals may see the move instantly and reject it. Low trust environments make it risky. High stakes emotional situations can make it seem insensitive. And if you deploy it every time you want something, people will recognize the pattern. Power techniques only work when they are rare, calm, and grounded. The highest form of reverse psychology isn't even verbal. It's silence. When you stop persuading, when you withdraw pressure, when you say less, silence creates tension, and humans resolve tension through action. When you remove yourself from the push dynamic, the other person often steps forward to close the gap. This is why over-talking destroys leverage. The more you explain, the weaker your position becomes. The more you justify, the more it appears you need agreement. True power is comfortable with pause. If you want to apply this intelligently, follow a simple structure. First, remove overt pressure. Second, introduce mild disqualification. Third, remain calm and indifferent. Fourth, allow silence to work. For example, I don't think this is for everyone. It takes consistency. If that's not your thing, no stress, then stop. Don't fill the space, let them respond. Often they will move toward you simply to reassert identity. At its core, reverse psychology is about frame control. The person who controls the frame controls the emotional direction of the interaction. When you move from seeking approval to offering selection, the power dynamic shifts instantly. Exclusion sharpens desire because humans are wired for belonging. The possibility of being outside the circle creates urgency. But when you beg someone to join the circle loses value. This is why high-status individuals rarely chase. They don't need to. Their restraint signals abundance. And abundance is persuasive. The deeper truth here is this: humans don't want to be pushed. They want to arrive. They want to feel intelligent. They want to feel self-directed. When someone feels they discovered the idea themselves, their commitment skyrockets. Direct force creates compliance. Indirect framing creates conviction. Compliance fades when pressure disappears. Conviction remains even when you're gone. That is long-term influence. But with power comes responsibility. Reverse psychology can be manipulative if used to override someone's best interest. It can erode trust if used dishonestly. The ethical line is intent. Are you aligning someone with their own goals? Or are you bending them toward yours? If the intent is alignment, it becomes strategic communication. If the intent is control at their expense, it becomes manipulation. There's also an internal lesson here. Reverse psychology teaches restraint. It teaches patience. It teaches you to tolerate uncertainty without grabbing for control. That alone is powerful. Most people cannot tolerate silence. Most people cannot tolerate ambiguity, so they rush to fill space, and in filling space, they lose leverage. The most powerful move is often not advancing, but stepping back. Not demanding, but disqualifying. Not chasing, but filtering. When you master that shift, arguments decrease, resistance softens, people begin leaning toward you on their own. The dynamic becomes pull rather than push, and pull scales, push exhausts. If you look closely, the most influential people in any room are rarely the loudest. They are often the most measured, the most selective, the least reactive. They allow others to step forward. Reverse psychology at its highest level isn't about saying the opposite of what you want. It's about understanding that freedom is sacred. The moment you threaten freedom, resistance appears. The moment you protect freedom, even strategically, cooperation becomes possible. So the next time you feel the urge to convince, to argue, to over-explain, pause, remove pressure, introduce calm detachment. Let identity do the work, because in the end, influence is not about overpowering someone's will. It's about shaping the environment in which their will moves. And the person who shapes the environment holds the power. That is the real lesson behind reverse psychology. It isn't a trick, it's disciplined restraint. And restraint, when paired with clarity and confidence, is one of the highest forms of power.